Welcome back to the channel. I'm Ben. Today I'm going to do my end of week recap, talking about games that I picked up and games that I played in the last 8 days or so, give or take. I went to game group last week, last Thursday. I had a couple friends over this past weekend, and then yesterday I did game group again. So these are games that I picked up and games I played during that time. So the first game I picked up is one I did an unboxing for on the channel, and that is Just One. It's a party game where one person has to guess a word, and all the other players will secretly give them a clue, and then they will show all the clue. Then they will examine all the clues, and then they will take out any clues that more than one person gave. So if the word is like chocolate, and more than one person says sweet, then all the sweet clues would be taken out, and then the person that has to guess from the remaining words and try to guess that word. So you have to be careful like what you're actually giving for clues, because you don't want to be too obvious that another person would think of that same word, but you also don't want to be too far away from the actual word that they could never guess what word you have based on the clue you give. So that's an interesting word game, and it's good it plays up to 8 in the box, but I think you could use more if you have more copies of the game. Okay, well, it says 3 to 7, and you kind of just, it says 20 minutes on the box, but you can kind of just play for however long you want. That is Just One party game. Another game I picked up is Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, the Collector's Edition. The Collector's Edition has the special component trays for the cubes. So Ares Expedition is a smaller box, shorter version of the big Terraforming Mars game, which is right here, which is long and complicated and it's hard to get to the table. And so I haven't gotten to play this one yet because I just haven't had people to teach me, and I haven't wanted to sit down and try and learn it solo. So I figured that Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition would be the right way to go to introduce me to the game. There's a lot of people nowadays that actually like this one better. This one came out this past year, and it's like a shorter, more streamlined version of this game. So I will see if I like this game, and if I want to dig into this one further, or if I just want to get rid of Terraforming Mars altogether. But in Terraform Mars, you play as a corporation trying to make Mars inhabitable for your own personal profits. And by doing so, you have to raise the oxygen level, the water levels, and build upon Mars to make it inhabitable by humans, so you can start to have people living there and make a profit off of them. So not the most exciting theme in the world, but it's supposed to be a really good game, so I thought I'd give it a try since it was on sale for pretty cheap because it was missing part of the shrink wrap. I also did a review on that in the channel. The last one I did a review on, and that is Sheriff of Nottingham. Sheriff of Nottingham is a bluffing game where you are trying to smuggle goods past the sheriff, and you have to try to smuggle contraband without them but you have to make them think that you are smuggling actual goods through, and it's like a bluffing sort of economic sort of game. It was out of print for a long time, and Days of Wonder was doing it, and that game was starting to get super expensive on the secondary market, so I'm glad they finally reprinted it. Come On Games, which is owned by Asmodee, which is like a big board game company now finally did a reprint of it that was affordable. It's like $40. So I figured might as well pick it up since I had store credit at the shop and give it a try at some point. You need about 4 or 5 people to make it viable, but I figure I could take it to Game Group one day and try it out. The last one I did not do an unboxing for because I didn't get it brand new. I got it used from a thrift store, but it was basically brand new. It was never played, it looks like, because some of like the boards were still in the shrink. And that is Back to the Future, Back in Time, a cooperative game where you're basically playing through all the players are working together to play through the first Back to the Future movie. Like you're trying to reunite his parents, like make sure that they meet again before the midnight, I think. However the game plays, it plays exactly like that. So it's supposed to be a good, accessible, cooperative game for people that are fans of the movie. And it's made by Funko Games or Prospero Hall. So thought I'd give it a try. It's only like $5. And so those are the games that I picked up. Now the games that I played. So I played a few games on the app form, and I played a few games in person. So the first one that I played on the app was Oceans. It is very, very similar to the game Evolution, where you are creating it's a card game where you're creating a species of animal in oceans that they're underwater and they're like fish creatures. And what you're doing is you're trying to become the dominant species in that region in the ocean, and you're trying to collect the most food. Whoever has the most food, which is the most fish at the end of the game, wins. So, and then you will play cards to evolve your characters. The characters have to be sustainable. They have to eat enough, because if they don't eat enough, they will die at the end of your turn. You can also attack other creatures to take the food that they have gotten. So it's an interesting game. It's about can't rate it as 7.5. I want to get the physical copy at some point and see if it's just as good physical as it is on the app, but it's a free app if anyone wants to check it out. The next one I played on the app was Cat Lady. It is a simple card drafting game by AEG where you have a row of 9, and so you can on your turn you'll draft a row or column of 3, and that will give you different toys or food, or you can also collect cats, and you win by having the most points from cats. So each cat will be worth a certain amount of points and will require a certain type and amount of food. So you have to be careful though, like what cats you're taking, and you have to be able to feed them, because if you can't feed them at the end of the game, they will die, and you'll lose however many points that it's worth instead of gaining that many points. So it's an interesting game. It's a game I've played a lot of, so it's not one that I'm too eager to get back to. But it's a 7. It's definitely a more like family weight entry-level game for people that haven't played a ton of games or looking to introduce themselves to drafting mechanics. Cat Lady is a adorable little solution, worth trying. It's like $20-25 I think for the game, so it's not that expensive. And then the last one that I don't own. Anyway, no. Yeah, there's 2 I don't own. The first one that I played. The first one is Trails of Tucana. Trails of Tucana has been out of print for a long time, but one of the people that I play with at the game group owns this game, and they brought it, and so we got to play it. It is a flip and write game where you have your own sheet like this that looks kind of like this, and you'll have 2 cards flipped, and that will determine what terrains you need to attach, and then you will draw a line between those 2 terrains, and you will try and build out a path connecting different letters together and connecting different like landmarks in your on your sheet, and then whoever scores the most points wins. It's plays in about 10-15 minutes if you have the right group, and I think it took us like 20 just because we were moving a bit slower. But it's definitely, if you're looking to get into like flip and write games, like roll and write games, and you can find a copy used somewhere, it's definitely one worth checking out if you want something that's a little on the lighter side. So I rate this game a 7 out of 10. The last one that I don't own that we played is a civilization game called Hedara. It is a like card drafting sort of civilization, sort of like Seven Wonders, where you have different types of resources here. You got your like food, and you got your like income, and you have like the temple building and building a statue, and you have many different things that you can do to get points. It's sort of like a point salad game that you're drafting cards from this board here. Everyone does that, and that will give you certain things, like it will improve your income or your ability to build statues or explore, or food to help you get more cards, because you have to have enough food to pay for all the cards that you have in front of you. So, I mean, it's a bit going on, so it's a little bit like a step above what I would consider like an entry-weight game, but it's not like a super complicated game either. It wasn't one that I felt like I needed to buy myself, just because I have Seven Wonders over there already. So I figure I would try Seven Wonders first and then decide which one I prefer and then keep that one. And I rated this a 7.5. Not a bad game whatsoever. That is Hedara. Next one we played was Tiny Towns. So we played Tiny Towns in the group. The lady that was running it, she was playing a different variant of it. There's in the back of the book, there's a town hall variant. So in Tiny Towns, you'll have this square board where you're placing cubes on it, and then you'll get certain elements, like you'll get different colored cubes, which some of them, like red will be brick, and the blue is glass, and there'll be wood and stone, and you are aligning them in a certain pattern to build specific types of buildings. And each building will score you a certain amount of points based on where it is, and it'll have its own scoring condition, and you just try and get the most points at the end of the game. So the Town Hall variant plays a little different from the regular game. The regular game, you will take turns going around the board, choosing which which resource you want, and every person at the table has to play that resource. And in the Town Hall variant that we played, you have a deck like for the solo mode, and so you flip over 2 cards. You have to put in those 2 resources into your board, and then you can choose a resource of your own of your choice to play as well. So that's an interesting way of doing it. I didn't think it was as fun or exciting with the Town Hall way. I would give like the Town Hall variant like a 6.5, but but for the base game, the regular game, it's like 7.5, because I like the interaction a little more, and there's a bit more thinky in the way that you can really not only on your turn choose what you take that will benefit you, but you can also force your opponent to take something that they really can't use to really block up their board and really ruin their plans as well. So that's an interesting thing. That makes the game more exciting. I would never choose to play with the Town Hall variant that we played with. The next one we played at was Unmatched. So this is Goblin Fog, which has Dracula, Jekyll and Hyde, Invisible Man, Sherlock Holmes. But there's other different ones. There's a Deadpool one. There's a Jurassic Park one. There's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer one. There's like an Alice in Wonderland. There's Bigfoot. There's Beowulf. There's all these different expansions for it. So we just played with like all the expansions, and we played a 4-player game. So you can play this game. It's a skirmish game. So it'll have a board, and you'll have different zones. You move from zone to zone, and you'll have a deck of cards. So it's card-based combat. And so when you get next to someone, you attack them, put a card down. They can decide if they want to defend it or not. And then you flip over the cards, and whatever has a higher power wins. There's also special abilities, and each player plays a different way, so it's very asymmetric in that way. But you can play as 2, which is 1-on-1, which is a lot quicker. Because that you can play in like half an hour. And 4-player, which is like teams or free-for-all, we played as teams, which made the game drag on a long time. It's also very inconsistent because there's no real way to really predict what's going on, and yeah, it was a mess. I couldn't really do much of anything in a 4-player game like I would be able to in a 2-player game. So I own Goblin Fog. I want to give this particular set another chance before I want to go all in on the rest of the expansion sets. But this is like an 8 out of 10 I give this, so still a great game. Definitely a bit more hesitant to play 4 players. I think 2 is the sweet spot, like a head-to-head skirmish. Even if you're not like a fan of like combat skirmish games, it's worth giving a try, I think. The next one is King of Tokyo. I've talked about on the channel a bit. It is a dice rolling monster battling game where you are trying to become the most infamous monster in Tokyo, either by getting prestige or by killing off all the other monsters. So I played this weekend with friends, a couple friends, and normally this goes over really, really well with everyone I played, but for some reason it didn't for this group. I don't know. I think it's not anything to do with the game. I just think that everyone was probably just tired when we played it. But it's definitely a great family weight game, great for kids, great for adults love it. I've played it with older adults and they've had a ton of fun. I played it at 2 and it's great. I played at 4, it's great. I've even played it at like 7, and that works well if you have like the expansions. So you just kind of have to, like, whatever you have, it usually works out pretty well. So, I mean, it's an 8.5. I can't recommend this one enough if you're looking for a light dice game that is easy to get into, and it's quick. It's like 10-15 minutes when you're playing at 2 players. It might take half an hour if you're playing with more. So yeah, that's King of Tokyo. The very last one was a game I've been wanting to try for a while, and that is Rolling Realms. It is based on the Stonemaier games by Jamie Stegmaier. It is a roll and write game. Really great game. So how it works is you'll have 3 realms in front of you, which represent different games in the Stonemaier line. And each game plays very differently. And you have to roll dice and play according to each card's rules. It's kind of hard to explain without showing you the actual cards. But it's definitely a great game. Definitely worth getting if you want to play virtually with someone, because it's got these big chunky dice that you can really see really nicely on camera. And definitely worth checking out. 9 out of 10. Could very easily crack my top 10 after a few more plays. That's Rolling Realms. Well, thank you for watching, everyone. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Bye.